What is going on, and welcome to the channel. This is Daniel, Mr. Cuervo Racing, and today we're going to talk about the Cometic stator cover gaskets for the Raptor 700. They do make a clutch cover gasket as well, but today I am pulling a side cover on an engine that has a factory gasket on it, and I want to show you how that looks compared to when you pull them apart with when you're using the Cometic gaskets. So I will link these gaskets in the description so you guys can purchase them or give us a call. We have them, but I'll show you the major difference of what you're dealing with. So once you get these apart, this is what you end up with. And it doesn't really matter how long this has been together. You can put them together for 10 minutes or run them for an hour or run them for 4 years like this one. But it's going to tear the gasket 90% of the time. And it just completely tears apart. Which is fine. You say, okay, yeah, gasket's $7. And they work well and they seal well, the factory gasket. But you have to go through and you have to tear all this out, scrape it off with a razor blade, and try not to get, if the engine's on the bike, you're trying not to get any of this gasket material inside your engine as you're scraping it, as you're trying to get all of this off. So if you're doing any type of service, that's a royal pain in the ass. So there's a considerable amount of time cleaning, and you have that side to clean, but then you come over here, you also have this side to clean. So same thing, this gasket's just going to come off in small pieces. If you get a razor underneath it, it'll get the big chunks off, and then you'll have to go back and scrape all this. Now that won't even come off with my nail. So that's pretty well seized on there, and these gaskets are just going on dry. So there's no adhesive or anything. They just stick to that aluminum really well. So that's the stock gasket. That's what you're dealing with there. So however much time you're going to spend to deal with that versus this engine was put together with a reusable gasket from these Cometic reusable gaskets. So these are reusable in the period of I'd say like 4 or 5 times, and then I'll replace them. They start to squish down. But this engine's been together for 2 years, and all I did was unbolt this cover, nothing else. So that's how it came out, nice and clean. The gasket, you can see, does have an impression on it, but it's ready to go back on. Nothing to do there except inspect it and put it right back on. So you kind of go from a job of dealing with scraping this and cleaning that and blowing out any little crumbs that got in the engine. Say, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour job sometimes, depending on how bad that gasket is stuck on there, to pulling apart that cover and putting it back on. You could be 10 minutes. No time at all, no additional cost. So factory gasket, I think they're like $8. These ones we sell for $25 for this side, $35 for the clutch side. But the time savings in itself and dealing with that, and the potential of say you have some bolts on your side cover come loose. They should have never come loose, but say you do. Say you powder coated your cover and the powder coat softens up and it starts leaking. Well, when they leak, they'll soften these paper gaskets and then they'll ruin that gasket. And you'll have to go through all this mess versus on the Cometic gaskets, you can simply go and tighten it back down or pull it back off and clean it. But that's why we're using these gaskets. That's why I recommend you should use them. We go through quite a bit of them. This engine here is probably the last engine that I did that I used one of these Chinese cylinders as well as a paper gasket. So this was quite a while ago. And that cylinder, we did a bunch of work to it. That I mentioned it. Also say we did a bunch of work to it to make it work properly. But dealing with these gaskets, that's what you got. Time is money, especially shops. You know, there are guys running shops or doing engine builds for stuff. Like dealing with this paper gasket stuff sucks. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for the calls I've been getting. We'll talk to you in the next one.